The funding for this video is provided by the amazing members of my Patreon. Also contributions from viewers like you. Thank you. Yeah, I started from PBS Kids. What you gonna do? Fight me? Anyway, roll the video. Okay, before we get started, I just want to make a quick announcement about my new book, me and my friend's new book, specifically called Do Not Call Me Sis, which is a collection of essays about fandom, misogynoir, ableism, entertainment, and white feminism, rated 16 plus for mature things and strong language, not small language, strong language, because we be cussing up something up in here, but it is available for purchase in paperback, audiobook, and ebook just as well. If you are looking for something that is educational but also fun and entertaining at the same time, wanting to learn more about the world but not be bored to fucking tears, I highly recommend getting this book. Okay, y'all ready to get into today's video? Because I am. Let's go. So much of the content that I have been making this year covers the subjects of women in animation, on screen and off screen. Why, you may ask? Because it's something that needs work and it's not like it can be changed overnight. An example of this would have to be if we create a new series where the overall production, half of its crew are women or people who identify as non-binary just as well, because animation is a field that is very much male dominated, specifically by white men who are cis het. Great, we have this one series, but there are plenty of other series where they are mostly ran by cis het men, on top of the fact that most of the animation we already have is created by cis het men, or cis het men are the main people behind it. I would love for animation to have more diversity behind the scenes right away. That goes for comics just as well. But it's just not realistic, because it's beyond putting these people in these rooms. It's also making sure that they're being treated well, paid fairly, not being spoken over, etc, etc, etc. On top of the fact that we're trying to undo decades of issues. Animation has a lot to work on. I usually talk about human characters on my channel because, yeah, people. But The Amazing World of Gumball is something that's interesting because there are no people in the majority of the show. But just because no one is human most of the time, because I am aware that there are a few people that show up in and out of the series. Don't try to check me on that, I know. But just because no one is human does not excuse the same ongoing issues with women and animation, regardless on if race is involved or not. Because we have this thing called patriarchy. What is patriarchy, you may ask? Well, if you've seen the Barbie movie, you may have an idea on what it is. Patriarchy, a system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Hollywood is built off of three things since its beginning, that being racism, anti-Semitism, and misogyny, along with homophobia, transphobia, and ableism. It's not shocking to know that animation has a misogyny issue just as well. It's not even just an issue in the United States and Canada, it's a problem worldwide. The Amazing World of Gumball is a series that is mostly written by white men, and 3 of the women that I could find that wrote for this series are white. Not surprising, because so much of the behind the scenes of animation overall, if we take out anime, is white. But these women, let me tell you, they didn't even write 30 episodes of this show. The Amazing World of Gumball has over 200 episodes. And I am in no way, shape, or form calling The Amazing World of Gumball a misogynistic show whatsoever, because The Amazing World of Gumball is one of my favorite shows ever. And I don't really get the feeling of misogyny from the show because of how much the series challenges society most of the time. But The Amazing World of Gumball is something I consider to be a dude bro show. And when I say a cartoon is dude bro, it's where its targeted audience is obviously male. But when it comes to women's roles within animation, behind the scenes, they aren't really there much. But on screen with this series, we see quite a few women throughout the run of the series. A lot more than what we have seen on Cartoon Network and Adult Swim originals, period. This show is what I can say is very interesting because everyone in this series is unhinged and different from one another. And the women in the Amazing World of Gumball are the reason why I created my podcast in the first place called An Animated Female Unhinged. The Amazing World of Gumball is set in the world of a city called Elmore, which is very ghetto, don't go there. But everything is just a mess, and we see a lot of the people who live in this town are extremely unhappy, including the women. So I want to sit here and talk about all of them because I really want to have a discussion about the women in the amazing world of Gumball. So before we get started, I just want to make like a brief, small little announcement. First of all, this is a cosplay. If you can guess what cosplay this is, down below. The hint, I'll give you a hint. It's from 2000s Cartoon Network. There. That's the hint I'm gonna give you. Comment down below if you wanna. I just want to have a brief disclaimer is that The Amazing World of Gumball is a show that I throw into the same category as The Simpsons, where there's just so many fucking people in the show and it's just too many to talk about. Like, okay, mainly because a lot of the women that are in the show, they come in and out, or a lot of them are just forgotten about and ones that other people just don't discuss all that much. And seeing how this video goes, I may make it a series of where I talk about the women within like animated series, because one of my major goals for this entire year, and I feel like I am succeeding with that a bit more now, I'd say, is that I want to talk about women's roles within animation, on screen and behind the scenes. So yeah, that is what we will be doing today with The Amazing World of Gumball. Another disclaimer is that I am only talking about women. I know somebody gonna comment down below, where's Penny, where's Wasami, what's the other one, that's Cactus Girl, Carmen. I know people are going to be asking where they are. Someone even is going to ask about NIEs. NIEs is going to come up in discussion. Those are girl characters, and animation has always catered more towards girls than, you know, women. Overall, animation mainly caters towards men, and then it caters towards boys, and it caters towards girls, and then, you know, women are usually like the last. And this is speaking from like a heteronormative perspective, by the way. So let's talk about the women. So we're gonna start with the mother herself, Miss Nicole Watterson. People call her Nicole Watterson. In the series they say Nicole Watterson, but either pronunciation is correct. I don't need none of y'all over here trying to say that I'm mispronouncing her name wrong. I think I know better than anybody else how to say this damn name, okay? Nicole. Where do I even begin with her? First of all, she's one of my favorite fictional characters ever, mainly because she's extremely unhinged. And I mentioned before that The Amazing World of Gumball literally is the inspiration for me wanting to make the Animated Female Unhinged podcast, because I just kept thinking of all of these female characters within here, but especially Nicole, because she is a different level of unhinged right there. But who exactly is she? She is the mother to the three main leads within the series, and that being Gumball, Darwin, and Anais. Those are her three kids. Darwin is adopted though. Her two biological kids are Anais and Gumball. She has them with her husband, who's a fucking bum we're gonna get into later, named Richard. And Darwin is their adopted son. Nicole will literally beat y'all ass if y'all will sit here and try to say that Darwin isn't her kid and that is literally a fucking pet. Y'all are so weird about that entire thing. I was like, she cares about Darwin just like she do for other kids. That's her son. Anyway, Nicole, for the most part, she is a very hard-working woman, and I'd say that her family doesn't appreciate her. That is like kind of what makes me really upset when it comes to Nicole's character, because the entire purpose of her character is just us seeing this very miserable woman. She obviously isn't happy with her life. She's not happy with her marriage. As much as she tries to pretend she is, she fucking isn't. She doesn't have a great relationship with her parents either, because first of all, her parents weren't happy about her being in a relationship with Richard, which is valid because Richard sucks. Richard fucking sucks, but also I feel as if part of the reason why she was leaning more towards Richard in the first place has to do with the fact that her parents were really fucking hard on her. And we're gonna talk about her mother a little bit later down the line when we're talking about more of the women when this in the series. But Nicole Waterson, overall, she's a woman that just has not had a happy life. When she was growing up, she had parents that were super duper strict on her. You know, they were the type of parents that wanted her to have great grades, but they also wanted her to do extracurricular activities and this and that the third. Like her mom even named her Doctor. Her first name is actually Doctor, and then it's Nicole, because she was like, I want my daughter to have a doctorate. I want my daughter to be this and that and the third. And Nicole, honestly, like I said, she makes me so sad because there's just so many people in this world that can relate to her a bit. And mind you, as much as I love Nicole's character, she's a very flawed person, but that's part of the reason why I adore her so much. And when it comes to Nicole, I just kind of wish that all the other female adult characters within this series could have had like the same kind of depth and effort put into their characterizations as they do her, because she's not really portrayed in one kind of way. Because with these other women within the gumball, they all just kind of have like one thing about them and then that's it. Nicole, we actually get to see so many different sides of her. We get to see the very angry side of her, but we also get to see the very loving and caring side of her just as well. But then we also get to see the side of her where she's emotional and she's just extremely sad and just doesn't really know what to do. Because like I said, she grew up very strict household. Her parents literally always on her, and then when she feels like she can get away from them, she's dealing with this man who's literally a fucking imbecile. Okay, like I literally hate her husband. I'm not even joking. I fucking hate her husband. Listen, any Richard apologists, y'all might as well click off this video because I am not Richard Hive. Alright? And one thing that like pisses me off, and mind you, it's interesting to see what it's done with in the show, but like speaking like, you know, in general, it's supposed to piss you off. Like her relationship with her and Richard is supposed to make you angry, but sometimes it's just like extremely over the top, and I'm just like, I don't understand how this woman can deal with this kind of man, because it just got on my nerves to the point where I said, like, I think Nicole's a very flawed person. I feel as if she pushed this onto her kids, because as we know, Richard is a fucking bum. He literally is the worst husband of all time. People were like, do y'all think Richard was a good dad? And I was like, I'm gonna be honest, no. He's not a good dad, nor is he a good husband. Like, when it comes to Richard being a dad, I feel like he could be much worse. Like, let's go ahead and say that. He could be a much worse parent. But overall, no. I don't think Richard is just a good person in general. But we see that Richard is just in a very dependent person. He's extremely dependent on Nicole, but also he has become very dependent on his kids. He's very dependent on Gumball, Darwin, and Anais too. And Nicole is part to blame for that. Nicole basically put so much of her kids' responsibility to look after their fucking father. And I'm just like, ma'am, that's not how that goes. It's frustrating. It's actually really bad because I'm like, she literally married this fucking bum, and now she has brought this problem that she has with this man onto her kids. But also, speaking of the way she, like, you know, treats the family and whatnot, she's trying to make sure things are together. She's trying to make sure things are in order. She's working a job, but also she's the one that basically does so much for this family. She's the one that does a lot of the cleaning. That's why she asks her kids to clean up, because she knows her husband's not going to do it. She's the one that goes to work. She's the one that does this and that and the third. And she has to deal with this disrespectful ass husband that literally maxes out her fucking credit card all the time. It just doesn't seem to respect her. As much as Richard can sit there and say, I love Nicole, I love Nicole, I love Nicole, I'm like, okay, you love Nicole, but you don't respect her. And that's one thing that I have talked about before, where somebody has said you can't love somebody if you don't respect them. I was like, oh no, because a lot of people have the love part down pat, but a lot of y'all just don't be respecting these people. And Richard has zero respect for her. Like, I remember somebody had said Nicole need to pack up and just leave Richard. Just leave him and just take the kids. And I was like, I wouldn't blame her if she does. But she loved that man too much to leave him. But speaking of that, I noticed when it comes to her three, The girl is the one she's the most hardest on. And that is something that is just very universal when it comes to households in general, because I noticed this isn't really like a thing with just black households. I noticed it's just a thing with like households of color too, because my peers that are non-black people of color have mentioned that in their families the women are like very hard on their girls, but they're not the same as they do with their sons. And Nicole she has much more expectations when it comes to Anais than she does Gumball and Darwin. And that is because Anais is portrayed to be like this child prodigy. She's very smart. She skipped like a few grades. She's supposed to be like the brains of the family. And I feel like she gets that from Nicole because Nicole is a very smart woman. But it just kind of makes me sad because I feel like there is some parentification that's going on when it comes to her and Anais, because she expects Anais to be like the voice of reason. She expects Anais to be the one that looks after her older brothers, first of all. Like, she expects so much from Anais, and that puts a lot of pressure on her. Like, Anais is a little girl. She's so young. She still has so much to live for. But her own mom has just put so much on her because she just low-key just doesn't have faith in her sons. Yeah, it's... The Watersons are a very much dysfunctional family, okay? But you know what they say about dysfunctional families? Dysfunctional families make great television. That is why The Simpsons has been going on for so long. So that is all the words that I have to say about Nicole Waterson. Now, who is next on the list? Miss Simeon. Oh, she's a bitch. That's like the best way to describe Miss Simeon. That is all that is to her fucking character. She's just a bitch. She's just a nasty, mean, conniving bitch. Who is Miss Simeon? Miss Simeon is one of the teachers at Elmore Junior High. She is the teacher of Gumball and Darwin. Well, one of their teachers, because you know, you have multiple different teachers and that age. Now, Miss Simeon, she is, like I said, how Nicole is a very sad woman. Miss Simeon is also a very sad woman. But you want to know the difference between Nicole and Miss Simeon? At least Nicole is nice. I personally don't think that Nicole is a bad person, but I think Miss Simeon is. I really do think Lucy is. Her name's Lucy, correct? I should know this shit. I just always call her Miss Simeon. Now, the way this show treats her sometimes, they treat her as if she's like the butt of the joke. Because I remember there was like one episode where her ass was out and I was just like, okay, this is like just disturbing. So much of the series is just them making fun of Miss Simeon because for the record, for those of you guys who are not familiar with the world of The Amazing World of Gumball, there's barely any people in this show. Like, there are people within this series, but they're like not important. They're just kind of like they're played for laughs or whatnot. But most of the people within this series are not people. They're anamorphic characters. They're usually objects, like talking objects. They're talking food, but they're also animals. As Nicole's a blue cat, Miss Simeon is a chimpanzee, I'm pretty sure. She's a type of monkey type thing. She is irritating. The main purpose of Miss Simeon is supposed to be that typical mean teacher trope that we constantly always see. We see it up in Recess. I think Recess has to be one of the best examples of when it comes to like that mean teacher trope. Ooh, I hated that bitch so much. She was so fucking annoying. But Crocker is another great example I feel like more people are familiar with because I know more people in my audience have seen the Fairly Odd Parents over Recess, or it's been a minute since they've seen Recess. She's just your typical mean ass teacher trope, and this is a trope that I feel like isn't a problem when it's handled very well, and I feel like in some instances with Miss Simeon it's handled better than others. And when I say like when she's just a typical mean ass teacher, that's when I feel like her character is handled the best. When she's just there to be a fucking bitch to her students. That's one thing. But then when we get into the weird shit with her and Mr. Brown's relationship, I'm just like, oh shit, this is messy. And like I said, remember, The Amazing World of Gumball is a show about fucked up people living in a fucked up city. So everything is going to be but you're not supposed to be dating your coworkers, like working in a fucking school. You don't date your damn coworkers. And I wish more people would understand why that is so unprofessional. Mind you, I'm gonna sit here and ship Janine and Greg forever and always, okay? Abbott Elementary reference for those of you guys that caught it. I'm always gonna sit here and ship them. But also, I had to take into consideration is that I hate workplace romances. I used to fucking hate when I worked on that TV show. And there would be so many of like my coworkers getting in the drama with one another because they have a crush on one of their peers or they're trying to date each other and all that. And I'm just like, I hate being in the middle of this shit. This is annoying. As I mentioned, how Miss Simeon is just like a fucking bitch. Also, her and Nicole don't really like each other all that much. Oh my god, why won't y'all move out of this nasty ass town? But anyway, they don't really like each other all that much, but that has to do with the fact that Miss Simeon was just a fucking bitch to Nicole. Like I said, the only thing to Miss Simeon's character is that she's a bitch. She was so nasty to Nicole growing up, and Nicole low-key is that kind of person that kind of holds a grudge, but then also at the same time, I feel like she picks and chooses her battles. A lot of that has carried over into like adulthood, and I really do think because Miss Simeon just don't like Nicole, that's why she's so mean to Gumball and Darwin. But also, Nicole's kids are bad as hell. Like, they bad as hell. Let's just call it what it is. But back to Miss Simeon and Principal Brown. What is so weird about that shit to me is that it's never really like confirmed if they're like together or not. It just gives them fooling around with one another, and I'm like, we doing that here? It's funny. Like, it's just funny. It's just comical to me, but it's just like unprofessional, but it just doesn't really surprise me because like I said, Miss Simeon is just terrible. She's just awful, and that's just pretty much all that's to her. Sometimes I wish we could get a little bit more depth in this show when it does come to Miss Simeon, but when we do it, it just low-key is just hard for me to feel bad for her because she's such a just mean, nasty person. Because I noticed when a lot of people were talking about, do you have sympathy for mean characters? And I was like, with me, honestly, when you get to a certain point and when you get to a certain age, no. Because I hate to bring up this stank ass show again. But you know what? I'm not going to bring up that stank ass show. Let's bring up another series. When it comes to Angelica Pickles, part of the reason I'm able to have sympathy for her is because realizing the type of home environment she grew up in and seeing the kind of friends that she has, I can sympathize for her. Because I realize she just needs a better community. And she gets that with Susie, a little bit too dependent on Susie. But then we'll have somebody like Audrey Bourgeois. And Audrey Bourgeois is a character that's just meant to be a fucking bitch. She's from Miraculous Ladybug, by the way. She's just terrible. That's just all that's to her. But with Miss Simeon, we see that she's terrible and that she's just mean and just super duper nasty. And she has very little redeeming qualities about her. We see that so much of her being mean comes from the fact that she's hella insecure. She doesn't feel great about herself. So it's just like seeing how she's mean to people because she doesn't feel great about who she is. She doesn't really like who she is. And you think that Principal Brown having interest in her would get her to like herself a little bit more. And no. And that is just something that I mentioned before on this channel where I said something about I can't stand women that think that they're gonna be happy and shit about themselves is going to be magically better if they get a man. And I'm like, no. Fuck no. Baby, you don't like yourself. What makes you think that that's gonna make things better? Anyway, I don't really like Principal Brown all that much anyway, so like, fuck him. Bye. Okay, moving on to Miss Markham. Miss Markham, while I say that Miss Simeon is like the bitchy teacher, Miss Markham is like the bitchy nurse. She's like the talking band-aid. Everybody just call her the band-aid lady. A lot of people do not be referring to this bitch by her name. And that's just something when it comes to like the Amazing World of Gumball. Shows like Gumball and like shows like a Great Skull, we be referring to certain characters by the kind of like inanimate object or animal they are. Like dog bitch, rat bitch, elephant, raccoon. Here we just be like band-aid lady. I always call her band-aid lady. But Miss Markham, that's her name. For the most part, I like her a lot more than I say Miss Simeon, but I actually really like her character. She's just very dry. She is a woman that is just obviously tired of her fucking job. She just want to go home and enjoy her day. She's the type of lady who's just ready to go home and just enjoy Netflix because everybody in this environment just stresses her out so bad, and she's just over it. She's sick of it. She's tired of it. And honestly, a lot of nurses that work in schools are a lot like that. The nurse I had when I was in elementary school reminded me of her. We ended up getting a nurse at the last minute in high school for some reason because all the people at my school kept having health issues. She reminded me a lot of her. She's just over it, tired of her shit. She's not here for Miss Simeon's bullshit whatsoever, but she's also not here for a lot of the Elmore students' bullshit either. She will straight up tell you when you're getting on her fucking nerves. She's like, you're irritating me, I'm tired. You're coming in here complaining about things that aren't a problem. Why do you keep getting yourself into shit? This can be avoided. Why are you like this? She's just funny to me. I just love her. I really do enjoy her. Should I dress up as her? I've been looking for like more costumes and shit like that to do, and I've been wanting to do more of the Amazing World of Gumball cosplays, and I've been wanting to do her for a minute because she's just funny to me. She's just so hilarious. The funniest moments I can say that comes with the nurse would have to be when Terry, mind you, Terry is a type of person that is just very, very afraid of getting sick, which is a very valid concern, but it affects her like life. And Miss Markham was like, I'm tired of you. You stress me out so much every time you come to this office, and I'm irritated. I'm over it. You're not sick. Go home. Get out. And it's just funny. It's just so funny to see. She's like a no-nonsense kind of woman, and I think that's the perfect type of person to have that kind of job. So yeah, she's funny. Mind you, I think most of like the women in this show are funny. But I don't really think Miss Simeon's all that funny. And that's mainly because I just don't like her. But then again, there are characters that I don't like that I think are funny as hell. Like, I think Audrey Bourgeois is funny as hell while I don't like her. Audrey, I love to hate her. Like, she's just so fucking terrible. Hi everyone, the captain here. I just wanted to get on here real quick and tell you guys thank you so much for your support. I have gotten so much fan art from you guys, and I've met plenty of y'all in person at the conventions that I have been at. And also thank you guys so much for coming to the panels that I host. It means so much to me. You guys are so great. I appreciate every little last bit of support you guys give me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can say thank you 100 times, but I truly do mean it. Thank you. Granny JoJo. Another one of those characters in this series where I say like the only thing to her is like just being a bitch. Do y'all see an ongoing thing within this? Every single person I'm saying is a bitch, except for like Nicole, because that's my love. I adore her. But like I said, remember, The Amazing World of Gumball is a show about fucked up people in a fucked up city, in a fucked up town. This environment is terrible, okay? They all need to get out. It's hell here. Granny JoJo is a very frustrating woman, I'd say. She's very, very frustrating, I'd say. She's not a good parent. She's not a good grandparent. She's just a bitch. She's just a fucking bitch, but also she is a contribution to why her son acts the way he does. She enables so much of like Richard's bad behavior, especially when it comes to the way he treats Nicole. And what pisses me off the most when it comes to Granny JoJo is that if there's a problem going on with the family, she always finds a way to throw it back at Nicole. She is stay arguing with Nicole all the time. She can't agree with her on nothing. Like, nothing at all. And it just goes way back for when Nicole and Richard first met each other. It's pretty obvious that their families didn't approve of their relationship. But what pisses me off the most is that I can understand why Nicole's parents didn't approve of Richard, but what I don't get is why Granny JoJo didn't approve of Nicole. I was like, if anything, Nicole can help your bitch ass son. She can help him. Like, are you not seeing this? But she just doesn't like Nicole. She doesn't agree with anything she does. She always thinks that she's the problem. And she always tries to blame anytime something is wrong with Richard. She tries to blame that shit on Nicole. And Nicole is just like, for what reason? Do you not see the way your fucking son is? Do you not see the way your son is? But also, I feel like it's just a contribution to the fact that her ex-husband, her ex-partner, who is Richard's father, he wasn't a good person. That bitch was locked up. Nigga was in jail, okay? He was not a good person. He was just a bum. He just wasn't a good husband to her. He wasn't a good father to Richard either. And so much of that behavior, I feel like, did rub off on Richard. And JoJo just didn't know what to do about it. She just, like, let it slide. Like I said, she just enabled so much of Richard's behavior. That's part of the reason why she sees no flaw. She sees no problem with the way he's raising Gumball and Darwin and Anais, but she also sees absolutely no flaw in how Richard treats Nicole. And people tend to think that only men can be misogynistic, but no, Granny JoJo is a prime example of a very misogynistic woman. I wouldn't sit here and say that she is a pick-me, because pick-me's are usually women that do stupid shit for men and their approval and their affection and all of that shit. But I just want to say that Granny JoJo is not a girl's girl. She's not a girl's girl whatsoever. She will literally see that Richard is literally doing something terrible to Nicole. Not gonna give a valid example because if I do, this video gonna get demonetized. And she's just gonna sit there and fight with Richard and be like, well, you shouldn't have pissed him off that way. Like, she's just so irritating to me. She's just so fucking frustrating to me. And it's a very accurate portrayal of very misogynistic ass women. And yeah. We have like 3 different type of bitches so far in here. We have teacher bitch, we have nurse bitch, and then we just have boy mom bitch. Because that's literally what Granny JoJo's character is. She's just a toxic boy mom. She's irritating. Now, I know I'm sitting here and I'm talking about, do I like this character or do I not like this character? I like the nurse. I like Nicole. I don't like Miss Simeon, but I can still like laugh at her and whatever. But Granny JoJo, while I don't like her, her character just makes me really fucking angry. And that is the purpose of a lot of art out here. There is art out here that is supposed to make you angry, because remember what I said, The Raising World of Gumball is a show about very fucking irritating ass people. And Granny JoJo is just so nerve-wracking because she's just not a good person, but she also just takes pride in being a bad person too. You're not a good mother. You're not a good grandmother. Like, sis, what's the problem? We need to fix this. We need to work this out. One thing you're not gonna do is be mean to my homegirl Nicole no more. Okay? Okay, Granny? Okay, JoJo? Got it. Okay, next woman of the Amazing World of Gumball, which is, extreme grandma bitch, Mary. I'll tell you, it's just all the women are just different types of bitches. Mary is... Listen, when it comes to Mary, I cannot tell if she's better or worse than JoJo. I absolutely can't, because I think both of them are terrible mothers. But JoJo is like a different kind of terrible than Mary, because JoJo, on one hand, she just didn't care if Richard aspired to be nothing. She encouraged his lazy ass behavior. She just simply didn't care too much about him doing much of anything. She was like, yeah, Richard could be a failure. That's not my fucking problem. That's the thing right there with JoJo. She just didn't really do a good job of, like, you know, being a good parent to Richard in the way of, you know, yeah, encourage him to have goals, this and that and the third, like actually caring about his well-being. But Mary, on the other hand, she wanted her daughter to be like the best there ever is. She wanted her daughter to be exceptional. She didn't want anything like bad about her whatsoever, and that is part of the reason why Nicole was very estranged from her and why she didn't really want much to do with her, because she had so many expectations placed upon her. It just drove her away from her, because when we are introduced to Mary's character and we get to see her a little bit more, we see that she is like, Nicole, you need to go do this and then the third, and Nicole is just like, okay. And then she just finds ways to blame Nicole for things that are not her fault or in her control. She thinks that if any minor inconvenience happens in Nicole's life, it's Nicole's fault. And no, that's not the case. Nicole is just, you put your daughter in so much shit, there's obviously going to be issues that comes along with that. So she's just, oh gosh, she makes me so mad, because I remember she reminds me of a lot of the parents that I used to see at my school, where they literally would like they would literally, I can't say it on this channel because it's gonna get demonetized, but they got a B. Like literally being so mean because they got a B. I'm like, what? A B is a good thing. That's a good score. Like, she just expected Nicole to be perfect. She didn't want Nicole to have any type of flaws. So when Nicole did show that she did have flaws, like everyone does, because remember, nobody's fucking perfect, that just hurt her a bit, and she didn't really know how to go about it. She's like, no, I wanted my daughter to be super perfect, and if she shows any kind of issue, then I take problem with that, because I feel like she thought if Nicole wasn't perfect, that would have made her look like a bad parent. But then again, Mary was still a bad parent because she literally put so much pressure on Nicole. Like, oh my gosh, she's so irritating. She's such a bitch. I have said bitch so many times in this video. Take a sip every time I say that. Take a sip every single time I say that of water. Okay, stay hydrated. I know a lot of people were talking about how their parents are like a contribution to a lot of the problems that they have within adulthood. Oh, that's literally so many of the issues that Nicole has, because I mentioned that the way Nicole treats Anais is a bit different than the way she treats Gumball and Darwin. We call that generational trauma, because I noticed that she was a little bit more lax on Gumball and Darwin because those are her first two kids. But Gumball and Darwin are boys. She finally had a girl, and the girl, she was just like, yeah, we're gonna actually make sure she's not terrible. Alright? Because I remember she said something about how she didn't want her kids to be like Richard. And Gumball and Darwin, they on the way there, but they not Richard. And I feel like part of the reason why she like is a little bit more onto her when it comes to her goals and aspirations and whatnot is because she's like, yeah, you remind me a lot of me, and I don't want you feeling like a failure at any point in your life. And I get that. I understand that. But I personally don't think Nicole treats Anais the same way Mary treated Nicole, because while Nicole is a bit hard on her daughter, she is nothing like how Mary was to her. It's just a sad case, like I said, where so much of like Nicole Waterson makes me so sad. She makes me so sad because she's such a sad woman. Like, I just want, listen, Nicole, let's go out to the bar, let's just go have margaritas together, let's go chat it up, okay girl, because she deserves it. She deserves a nice G&O, let's go. Like, sis just needs help. And her mama messed her up, her daddy messed her up, but I still personally think Nicole isn't an awful person overall, because I remember when we were talking about like the subject of like BoJack Horseman and whatnot, and I had asked people, I was like, do y'all think if BoJack never worked in Hollywood that he would like, you know, still be like a terrible person? And a lot of people said yes, they did. And like I said, I'm the type of person that wants to see the good in people. I do. And I wish that BoJack could have been a better person, and so much of him being a bad person has to do with the fact that his parents were fucking terrible. Nicole, on the other hand, has terrible fucking parents, but you want to know what? She did not copy her horrible parents' behaviors. BoJack, on the other hand, did. While it gave reasoning for the reason why he acted the way he did, it was not an excuse. He's literally despicable. I can't fucking stand him. He's gross. Nicole Watterson, on the other hand, I feel like she's a good example of somebody that did grow up in a very toxic household with terrible parents and just being brutalized by so many of the people around her, like Miss Simeon bitch ass. And she basically was like, okay, I'm gonna do much better about the way I go about life. But also something interesting I also noticed about Nicole would have to be that she actually stands up for herself in adulthood. Because I noticed when we see so many of the flashbacks of when she was younger, she just kind of like took the way people treated her. But when she became grown, y'all see that she has like a lot of rage with her. Like I said, animated, female, unhinged. She actually fights back with people. She's not afraid to fucking punch somebody. She's not afraid to go off on somebody. She's not afraid to like call out people on their shit. She's not taking mess from nobody. And I feel like Nicole can go a little overboard sometimes in situations like that. But it's just going back to the fact that she's just tired of being like pushed over and walked all over. Next we have Miss Robinson. There's just not much to say about her. She's just quiet housewife. All she just do is mumble and be at home. I don't know, Miss Robinson, there's not much to say about her. She's just kind of there. Okay, like she's just not interesting to me, but I felt like I needed to talk about her. But you want to know something else? Bitch, she's a bitch. She's not nice. I'm telling you, all the women within the series are fucking bitches. Miss Robinson is she's like quiet bitch. Yeah, quiet bitch. That's the best way to describe Miss Robinson. She's just there. Not nice. Yeah, she's boring. This is like the shortest section probably in this video. And it's funny because we see Miss Robinson quite a lot, but she just doesn't really do much for me. Nothing really important to say about her. Next. Okay, now we're talking about Yuki bitch ass. Bitch. Rich bitch. That's Yuki. Mind you, Yuki is a character that, I kid you not, correct me if I'm wrong, she has only had like one major episode. Or she like came back later on and was just kind of like a side character or like a background character. But she probably only had like one major ass episode of the show. But she is a character that gets talked about a lot. Because I remember somebody had said something about, what are those fictional characters where they had this amount of screen time, but they have this amount of like fandom content and they have like a big ass fan base? And I was like, Yuki. That's her. Let me check real quick, because I'm like, I could have sworn Yuki probably only had like one or two major episodes. Yeah, Yuki's not important. She's only had like one episode. I see she was shipped with Nicole. Honestly, people have been shipping Nicole and Yuki since that episode came out. Okay, I remember like after that episode came out, all the fan art that stemmed from this shit. Okay, now I really want to know you guys' opinion on Yuki's character. Does her character have microaggressions in it? Because honestly, her episode is like what a lot of people refer to as like the anime episode. That's literally what it is, because there's a section of the video, not the video, the episode, when her and Nicole like actually throw hands, like they actually fight. They just beat the fuck out of each other, okay? There's an episode where they actually fight, and it's like an entire anime sequence. And it's pretty clear that Yuki is a Japanese coded character. Mind you, she's a cloud. Remember, a lot of these people here are just not people. They're like objects and shit like that. Tell me what you guys think about Yuki's character in the sense of like race and whatnot. Was her character racist? Was this a problem? I'm genuinely curious, and I really would like to know that for sure, because I feel like there are some microaggressions that went in with her character, with the way she was portrayed. But also we can sit here and say that her character is just kind of like an anime trope. Okay, because there are a lot of female characters that act the way she does in this episode within their series. So I'm genuinely curious to know, specifically people of color, especially those of Asian descent, do you guys feel like there are some issues with race with Yuki's character? And depending on how y'all go about it, I may make a separate video about that, because I'm just genuinely curious on how y'all feel about her. But talking to Yuki as a character, like I said, she's this rich bitch, but obviously so much of that has to do with the fact that she's just bitter and jealous. She's just jealous of Nicole. Mind you, how like you see how so many of this is just coming back to Nicole, but Nicole is the adult woman that we see the most within the series, so that's interesting to see how so much of this comes back to her. But she's just mean, nasty, rude, rich bitch. She has a rich ass husband. She's just going out of her way in this episode to make Nicole's life worse than it already is. And that's what blows me the most. Yuki is rich. She has so much money. She can be just so happy about how much money she has. But she's still over here bitter about some shit that happened with her and Nicole in the past. I'm like, bitch, girl, get up. Gloss up, boss up, and move on. You still holding on to that? Get up, Yuki, get up. And it just kills me because I'm like, Nicole is very much lower middle class, irritated, frustrated all the damn time, just trying to get through the day. And I'm just like, you can literally go to the spa anytime you want. You literally have a lot of money. You have way more money than you need. Why are you still irritated? Why are you still trying to go out of your way to make this woman mad? And then it just goes into my conclusion of when I say rich people are evil. Because I'm like, Yuki, we need to do better. Yuki needed help, y'all. It's sad that we didn't really see Yuki's character that much after this, but honestly, I feel like this show didn't know what to do with her no more. I know Gumball is having like new seasons coming out in the future, so we may see Yuki again there, but Yuki's character is just like hilarious in that instance to me, because I'm like, girl, you literally have so much to be happy about, and you're still mad about some shit that happened years ago before you had Masami with Nicole. Like, girl, like I said, honestly, the shit with Yuki and Nicole is giving homoerotic. It was very much giving homoerotic. It was giving Light and L from freaking Death Note. Now, the second to last woman that we're going to be talking about is Jackie, and Jackie is the mother of Tobias. I remember she got kidnapped. That shit was wild. That shit was so wild how she got kidnapped. It was just like, if you don't do this, I'm going to take care of your mama. And they actually fucking kidnapped her. And I was just like, I'm pretty sure it was Darwin that did that too. I'm telling y'all, this show is so wild. It's just so wild. And Jackie, in my opinion, she's just kind of there. She just don't do much of anything. She's just there to be Tobias's like mother. She's like Mr. Wells' like pretty wife. She honestly gives like stay-at-home mommy. Like, that's literally what she gives. She gives stay-at-home mommy. She gives housewife. I don't recall her actually just having a job. She just be there in the background just looking pretty. Now, I could say that Jackie isn't necessarily a bitch in the same sense as a lot of these other characters are. She's just kind of there. The show just don't really know what to do with her, I'd say. And that just kind of goes for all of like a lot of these female characters. And that kind of frustrates me the most when it comes to like Yuki. While this is a series that appeals to a lot of people, it's a seinen. Like, seinen, I thrown it in like the seinen categories when I was like putting Western cartoons into anime demographics. Gumball's seinen. And that's because like it's a very much dude bro type of series. Because I even noticed this same issue when it comes to like the female characters, the younger ones that are like Gumball and Darwin's age and Anaise's age. Most of the women in this series are like kind of like an accessory to like a man or another guy that like is out of school or whatnot, because we see that when it comes to Carrie, who is Darwin's age, she's like Darwin's girlfriend. We see when it comes to Penny, who's Gumball's age, she's Gumball's girlfriend. And there's just so many instances like that when it comes to like the girl characters within the series. They usually have some type of like associating with a dude romantically, because of the shit that was going on with Masami and Carmen and Alan was just ghetto. That's literally one of my favorite episodes, y'all. Okay, I still need to make a video about that fucking yandere ass episode because listen, I can talk about Gumball for a minute, y'all, okay? I can talk about that shit for a while. It's literally one of my favorite series ever. But it's just something ongoing that I am noticing when I'm looking at this series, that most of the female characters in here are just attached to like some dude romantically, because we have Nicole and we have Richard, and then we have Yuki, and then we have her husband whose name I didn't even bother to remember because it's not really important to this video. But then we have Granny JoJo and Richard, who is her son, but then we also see her bitch ass ex-husband. But also Granny JoJo gets with another man later on, and I like that because it just goes to show you that old people do date. They do. They can still find love later on in life with another person. But it just goes to show you, like, this ongoing thing that I've noticed is just so many of these female characters in general, not just like the women, they usually have some type of association romantically with another man or whatever. And I'm just like, okay. And it's not that they're romantically involved with another man. Their associations usually have to do with like the male characters and whatnot. But mind you, while I'm talking about all of these characters, a lot of them have like significantly less screen time than a lot of these male characters, adult male characters is what I mean, within this series. The only one I'd say that has like a pretty decent amount of screen time would have to be Nicole first and then Granny JoJo, but really she really only come into the show just to fuck up shit for like Nicole and to enable her bitch ass line, and then the stuff that goes on with her new boyfriend, and then like Miss Simeon. Other than that, the rest of these people just like to the side. They just really throwaway. And I say like the nurse is one that I could actually say I feel like she's really not in any association with like another man, because it's just not like important to her character. That's just the bitchy nurse character that she is. And it is a little irritating when you see kind of like ongoing patterns with the way a lot of these female characters are written. But like Jackie, like I said, she's just there as just like Mr. Wells's wife. Like, she's just not really interesting, I say. She has a really cute character design, too. And that's part of the reason why I wish the show just did more with her. And I hope they tend to do more with her in the future. She just has such a cute-ass design to me. I really do like it. But it just sucks because there's just not much there to talk about with her. And I hate the fact that when it comes to Jackie's section of this video, I just start talking about other things I noticed with the other women in this show. But it just kind of goes like that because there's just not much to say with her here. Now, moving into this character right here, Gumball and Darwin really piss me off when it comes to this person, and that is Coach. Coach is basically the coach at Elmore Junior High. And listen, like I said, The Amazing World of Gumball is a show about horrible people living in a terrible place, but there are just certain things with this show I feel like they take it too far, because so much of it is just like, ew. The Amazing World of Gumball overall has a really bad fat phobia problem, and that plays a lot into Coach's character. It's just very much like fat jokes all the time thrown around that just surrounds her character. Lazy, mean, slobby, like that's just the only thing like to Coach for the most part. But there's just something that was said with her character that really pissed me off, and I'm like, it doesn't matter how much you dislike this person or whatnot, that shit was very fucking wrong, okay? Gumball and Darwin had this ongoing assumption that Coach was not a woman. They were like thinking that Coach was a man this entire time, and it made me very much uncomfortable, okay? Because they were not reacting nice when they saw her husband had kissed her. Sorry, my camera battery ran out, but this is just an ongoing thing that I've just noticed when it comes to shows on Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, you know, shows that are supposed to be appropriate for all ages, is that they throw really disgusting jokes around in these series like it's just nothing. And I'm just like, y'all really need to be a little bit more mindful with that kind of shit you put in your series, because at the end of the day, This show's targeted audience is people of all ages. It's supposed to be appropriate for everyone of all ages to watch. The Amazing World of Gumball, in my opinion, part of the reason why I am so thankful that this show came out when I was like older and was still watching cartoons. Because I was watching these episodes as they fucking aired, okay? Mind you, I was a teenager. I am so thankful that The Amazing World of Gumball came out when I was a teenager, because this show, in my opinion, I low-key feel like that they forget who this targeted audience is supposed to be. Because The Amazing World of Gumball is a show that I feel like is very similar to regular show. And I was like, these are shows that are on Cartoon Network, but they really feel like they belong more on Adult Swim. Like I said, The Amazing World of Gumball is a series about really fucked up people in a very fucked up environment. But I'm like, when we want to talk about shit like that, I feel like you need to keep in mind who your targeted audience is, and there's just certain things that you need to do better about when you put that type of shit in here. Because that's something I was talking about, where people say they want to have their shit appeal to people of all ages, and I get that, but part of the reason they do that is because, like, money. You can appeal, if you appeal more to people of all ages, you are able to make more money. Okay, that's just the fucking truth. Part of the reason for Gumball's success has to do with the fact that it appeals so much to that adult audience. But you want to know something that I've noticed? Because Gumball started getting talked about a lot on social media later on during the series' run. And I'm pretty sure the people that watch the series, they caught on, like, make the series, they caught on to the fact that a lot of adults were like watching, a lot of like teenagers and shit like that were watching the series, and then they started catering more towards them, because the vibe of The Amazing World of Gumball season 3 and forward is low-key different than the vibe of the first two seasons. Okay, and season 3 was when I noticed they started to throw a more of this like gross discriminatory humor in it. That is when I noticed more of that shit was starting to come in here. And that is when that weird, nasty, transphobic shit that happened with Coach happened. And I'm just like, are y'all forgetting who the targeted audience of this series is? Because this is on Cartoon Network. You know what the age demographic of Cartoon Network is, regardless of what y'all want to say or not, okay? We know a lot of grown people watch Cartoon Network, but at the end of the day, The Amazing World of Gumball is a series that is supposed to be appropriate for people of all ages. That just frustrates me so much with the way this Coach character was handled. But the shit also bothers me with Richard. But like I said, we're not here to talk about the men bitch asses here. We're not here to talk about them. We're here to talk about the women within the series. That just frustrated me so much. Coach's character is just one big walking fat joke. That's literally what Coach's character is. That's just all it is. It's irritating. But then we had that transphobia thrown in there with her character just as well. And I'm just like, can we not? Can we not? It was already bad enough that she was just one big issue right there. But then you add another problem into the mix too. And I'm just like, we could have just had Coach be like a bitchy gym teacher. That just could have been it. Y'all didn't have to throw in all that weird fat phobia shit in here. Y'all didn't have to throw that nasty ass transphobic joke in there. Okay? Because it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny. Like, y'all know at the end when like a joke just doesn't stick and it's not hilarious and they do the dun-dun-dun. That's how I felt seeing like Gumball and Darwin say that, because I'm like, and I understand Gumball and Darwin are young. They don't know better, but I'm just like, Gumball and Darwin never learn from their actions to a certain extent either. It's a mess. The Amazing World of Gumball is a very complex series, and at times I really do think the people who make this show forget that this shit is on Cartoon Network. Okay, and the last woman that we're going to be talking about today in this video is Felicity. Felicity is, bitch, she's like a Karen type. I don't know why. She's just very hot-tempered, annoying, mean type of mommy character, and that's just it. I don't like Felicity. I don't. I just find her annoying. Like, I hate when the episodes where her and her bitch ass son show up. I just can't stand them. They're just irritating. And mind you, part of the reason why I enjoy the quiet age of The Amazing World of Gumball would have to be like the first two seasons, because season 3 is when a lot of the more irritating characters start to show up, and that is like when Felicity started to come into the mix. I'm just like, girl, move, go. Like, there's not even much to say about her here on like the Wikia. We just know her to be like a very caring and a bit overprotective mother. She has a very nasty, stinky attitude, and she has a very short temper, and she literally started causing crime in the series. It was a mess. It was a mess. But for the most part, like I said, bitch. That's just pretty much it. Bitch character. That's just it. To Felicity. Just bitch. Boring bitch, kind of. Because I don't really think her character is all that interesting. She's just, I don't really like her. She's, Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really just wanted to like find more stuff to talk about the Amazing World of Gumball with, and I just have so much to say about this series, but I wanted to get it started talking more about like the women I say more so in the series, because I feel like with the exception of like Nicole and Yuki, the women in the show don't really get talked about all that much. And when people are just talking about Nicole, they're just talking about the way people sexualize her, and I'm just like, can we actually talk about her character, please? Like, please, there's a lot good here. The Amazing World of Gumball, like I said, it's a show that I think is like in a good direction, I'd say, because we do get like a variety when we get to see the different types of women within like animation, because oftentimes when we see animated shows, it's usually the only time we would see like the women is that they're like a mother, or they're just like a teacher, or like an administrator that work at the school, and that's it. We really don't get to focus on those characters all that much. But the Amazing World of Gumball, we get to get a little bit more in depth with them. But honestly, when it comes to all of these characters, all of the female characters within this series, the adult female characters specifically, I feel like Nicole Waterson is the one that's written the best. And then I probably say the nurse is to a certain extent too. Miss Simeon and Granny JoJo and, but like a lot of the women in the show, they're just kind of there and they don't really contribute much outside of just being like accessories to like their sons or their husbands. It's just kind of like, eh. The Amazing World of Gumball is not a perfect show. Do I think it's a misogynistic show? No. But honestly, at the end of the day, animation has a lot of work to do when it comes to women and representation on camera and behind the scenes. I feel like part of the reason why a lot of the women in the Amazing World of Gumball just kind of get pushed to the back a lot, with the exception of like those four right there. And then honestly, Band-Aid Lady, she be getting pushed to the back too, we being technical. But that just has to do with the fact that so much of the behind the scenes production of the Amazing World of Gumball is men. It's very male driven, okay? Like so much of animation out here, okay? So in conclusion, y'all be talking about supporting black women in STEM, support black women in animation, please, okay? Because the behind the scenes of the show white as hell too, just as well. But yeah, I'm just rambling at this point, just like trying to get a little bit of my thoughts and opinions off my chest. My new book, Do Not Call Me Sis, you know, the collection of essays about fandom, misogyny, noir, ableism, entertainment, and white feminism. It's available for purchase. I'm sorry, y'all. It's available for purchase if you guys are wanting to continue these conversations that I have here on my channel. You definitely would appreciate it. The link will be down below. But thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day, night, or whatever time of the day you're watching this. Enjoy your day, and thank you for watching with the ads on.
Now that you see, you should beware of the power of three. They come to fight as fast as they can. They're dangerous yet fabulous. Because the Utonium made them eschew. They are the colors of pink, green, and blue. They'll catch you in the blink of an eye and do it all before bedtime. They coming through and fighting, and everyone they're shocking. You know no one can stop them all because of the chemical X. They coming through and fighting, and everyone they're shocking. You know no one can stop them all because of the chemical X. The Powerpuff Girls will just blow your mind. Buttercup like villains 3 at a time. Bubbles will smile while kicking your butt, and Blossom will lead them out of their rut. Cherish and Powerpuff, 2 of a kind. Both wanna save the world before bedtime. From Townsville, Memphis, New York to LA, the Powerpuff Girls are just here to stay.